to play. Warriors, come out to play.
In Africa, we had a reason to be born there. So we have a God. We have our gods and we have our mode of worship.
Queens, nod your head if you know you got soul. Women, snap your fingers, let your head wrap go. Come on. Kings, got us feeling like we H-Rap Brown. All my brothers, put your hand on your chest now.
Freedom's what we need, more solutions is the key. Wave the banner of the free, that's the red, black, and green. Bringing truth to the streets, water get no enemy. If it's peace, we at ease. If it's war, we don't cease. EYEs on the crackers and police. Never slack up even when we free, cause we ain't free until we get the land, that's the green. Black power, new African, liberated from the thieves, nothing better else to be.
Queens, nod your head if you know you got soul. Women, snap your fingers, let your head wrap roll. Come on. Kings, got us feeling like we H-Rap Brown. All my brothers, put your hand on your chest now.
Stimulated cause I'm liberated. Rock me African medallion in the middle of the clan. Situation freedom come drum playing by the river. I deliver for my people. It's the sequel of revenge. My friends get ready. Every neat shell bow, every tone shell tail on the mountain I reveal. Throw the shells, four lights side up. Dark one up in my cup, pour it out and then I strut. Alafia, dear.
Queens, nod your head if you know you got soul. Women, snap your fingers, let your head wrap roll. Come on. Kings, got us feeling like we H-Rap Brown. All my brothers, put your hand on your chest now.
When the African doesn't want to understand or participate in the reason why he was born,
Queens, nod your head if you know you got soul. Women, snap your fingers, let your head wrap roll. Come on. Kings, got us feeling like we H-Rap Brown. All my brothers, put your hand on your chest now.
see, Africa has not been able to contribute its own knowledge to this universe. But we have knowledge in Africa. You understand?
Yeah, of course.
You see, so all these things need to be in the education system of the African countries.
Lafayette, ETM Hotel, Rennie Sean. Welcome in peace. My name is Sean. I'd like to thank everybody for tuning in to the Monster Warrior Clan YouTube channel. Please like the show, share the show, tell a friend, we're live. Also, if you're just catching a replay, please like the show, share the show on any of these Facebook groups related to Africa. Today, we're going to talk about the three versions of Kapu's death. This is a story based in Cameroon among the Poro. I'm not going to elaborate too much into that if you're unfamiliar with the Poro, right? We've done numerous presentations on them. Please look for them by myself and Kofi. But we're going to get into the story and see if we can extract the deeper meaning behind this particular story that's being told about Kapu. And we're going to dissect it. The source of the topic is in the description. As always, all my stuff is in the description. For many of you who are representing Africa in the most stylish way, you know what I'm saying? Continue to do so. On this channel, we protect and defend Africa to the core. and we don't impose outside ideologies and definitions on African culture. We go inside the continent to extract the true meanings of certain things, and we don't have to listen to everybody else outside. So kill the noise. But again, please like the show, share the show. It's been a while since somebody's been up on the Mossy. Continue to look for content from us. Also, if you're not subscribed, subscribe to the channel. Also, subscribe to Kofi Podside TV and Science with Sean, as well as the Trap. You see the Trap in the comment section. And I'm not going to ask anyone to subscribe to the Bar Reloaded, but if you are in the chat and you do subscribe to the Bar Reloaded, this person in the chat, you do so at your own risk. At your own risk. Now I'm just playing. But peace, Double R, Robert Rand, Teddy, Sutek in the building, 9x9 Ed, you in the building. Everyone that is in the building, hopping on and back on and haven't said anything, peace be on to you. But let's get directly into our purpose and the reason why we're here, right? Because that matters to us all. Now, the story is a good story, okay? It's called The Three Versions of Kapua's Death. We're going to get into it, and we may have a conversation centered around it, but you always know we like to keep it about Africa on this channel. All right, so you see it's chapter 5 right here in the language and secrecy, symbols and metaphors and Poro ritual. All right, this is what we're dealing with. We're dealing with the Poro. All right. Now, you should be able to see this, and I'm going to get directly into where I want to go with this particular story. I'm not going to deal with the inner part, the beginning part of it. All right. Now, so there's 3 versions of Kapua's death. Just a little bit about this story. So the author of this particular text was doing research, you know what I'm saying, and trying to get things together to understand the people and all of that, and even was initiated at one time. And in doing so, he became to start to understand the secrecies among the people. That's why this book is called The Language of Secrecy, Symbols and Metaphors in Poro Ritual. So there's some inside information that comes out, but not all things. And then there's some things that are concealed and then have meaning that, well, uses different type of meanings to not give you everything that is required due to how, you know, West Africans and secret societies handle their business. Anyway, shout out to the Commanders for beating the Dallas Cowboys and the Eagles winning, which gives us the ability to own that first place spot as usual. Jalen Hurts is back, and that makes all the difference. But anyway, back to the story at hand. You know what I'm saying? Let's handle our business. So let's deal with the three versions of Kapua's death, as written. Nah, I ain't giving you no book. All right, Kapua was a young mother of approximately 20 years of age. I need y'all to really understand what's going on right now. She was a young mother, approximately of 20 years of age. She lived in the patriarchal compound adjacent to the path where the new initiates were led from the village into the initiation fence. So let me pause right there real quick. If you look at the cover of this particular video on the Master Warrior Clan channel, you see the 3 versions of Kapua's death. You will see some people right up under Kapua, right, blended in, right? It'll be like some little girls following behind a masquerade person, right? All right, so that's an indicator of what's transpiring here. What's up, James? Okay, so that's the initiation fin. They're leading from there. She had been living with her husband, a soldier in Monrovia. Y'all know what that is. If you know what Monrovia is, then you're familiar with what we're talking about in West Africa. And decided to return her home at the request of her mother to assist in preparing her young brothers for the initiation. The families of the initiates are required, okay? Let's make this clear. The families of the initiates are required to provide rice, palm oil, and different kinds of meats, poultry, and fish throughout the period when their boys are in the bush seclusion. Kapoor returned home in time to help her mother and sister plan to harvest the year's rice crop. Kapoor was very excited when it was time for the first of her brothers to join. When the Poro officials came and ritually captured him, she tried to stay as close as possible to the town celebration and playing. After he went into the bush, she remained in town for the rest of the day. The following morning, she started to hemorrhage. When the bleeding became severe, her father called in a medicine zoo. Later that afternoon, several Poro Zo came to her house, so more people that were in the medical field or trained in medicine to help. Then in the evening, she died. That's the first story. I first learned of the death when I was visiting with the town chief. A young man from Kapoor's quarter came to inform the chief about what happened. He announced that she had died from hemorrhaging. Everyone commented on how terrible it was that such a young mother had died. Later in the afternoon, a close friend of mine from the deceased woman's quarter gave me an account of how she had died. He said that she was caught by Zoa's medicine because she had too closely followed her brother as he left town and went behind the Poro initiation fence. Now, remember earlier in the story, she came to town. She lived close by the initiation fence, yada, yada, yada. All right. Now, when they go to the initiation field, she is not allowed to go. But this is the story that is told. I asked if he was suggesting that the Zoa had purposely killed her. He answered that she died for being too close to the Poro medicines. Later in the evening, I had some other friends from the community paid our respects to the family. After we left their house, a man from Kapoor's quarter who accompanied me provided a different version of the death. He said that Kapoor died because she had witnessed Poro's secrets in her dream. I asked what she had seen, and he said that she had seen her brother enter behind the initiation fence and enter into the bush school community where the other initiates were sequestered. When she awoke, she told no one of the dream. Then a little later, she began to hemorrhage. When the medicine czar was called, she confessed over his oracle that she had seen her brother join in the dream. It was then that several of the Porozo were called into case. By the time they arrived and begun to prepare their medicines cures, it was too late. The next day, Kapoor was buried. At her funeral, no mention was made about the unusual circumstances that led to her death. A few days later, I was at the town chief's house with several other men when the topic of the death came up. All expressed how sorry they were about the death and were quite concerned about the child. I asked what they thought the cause of her illness was, hoping that I would be able to clarify the two stories I had obtained. Instead, I received a third, more circular account that did not address any Poro-related issue. The person who answered stated only the official facts of the case, that Kapoor died from hemorrhaging after only a day's illness. He admitted that it was an unusual death, particularly for such a young woman. When I asked if he did not think that she was killed by medicines, he agreed the possibility, but did not bring up the knowledge that her death was somehow related to the Poro. From that time, I never heard anyone mention any Poro issues as a factor in death. I refer to the third account as circular because it does not involve any mention of the cause of underlying Kapoor's illnesses. It is not only opposed to either of the other two accounts. After the funeral, the interpretation of the cause simply was no longer relevant. The incident was treated similar to descriptions of court cases or palavirs after adjudication. Both litigants during the course of the palaver are usually quite vocal about their respective positions. After a case is decided, however, the official version is established by the chief or the educator is what is called upon for the accounts of the case. Only when the case is appealed to a higher court is the matter still open to divergent interpretations. When the matter is considered close, only the formal facts of the case are relevant to any account given about it. In a like manner, after Kapoor was buried, the matter was for all practical purposes settled. It was no longer relevant whether Kapoor died because of physically settled was present within her younger brother entered into the initiation of the bush or because she was there in her dream. Excuse me. No one can accuse a Zoa of killing someone except, under special circumstances, another Zoa. Now, because many considered the death to be a part of the Poro Mini, it no longer was open for discussion after the Poro Zoa was finished with the matter. Thus, only the fact that she had hemorrhaged to death after a single day illness was significant to any count of what occurred. The two accounts of cause given before the funeral were different, but not necessarily contradictory. The Kapele, like many other groups in culture area, treat their dreams as having the facticity analogous to everyday reality. As I explained in chapter 3, everyone is reputed to have two brains or spirits. That's the way they think. Everyone has two brains, two spirits, one for dreams and one for the world of daily life. People are alleged to be able to, in their dreams, to affect changes in waking world. Those who in their dreams do evil actions that cause harm to others are called wulu nui, stick people, or in Liberian English, witches. To say that Kapoor had formerly had followed her brother into the initiation fence in her dream would be as real as a statement as to say that she was physically present when he entered. Thus, the second account could be a version of first, or easily have evolved from it. I was present and video recorded the initiates being taken from the community, and I walked past the house where Kapoor was living. I did not witness her following the boys from the town, nor was I aware she was anywhere near them as they entered behind the initiation fence. When I heard the first account, I thought perhaps that I did not happen to see everyone in the area. Most of the women who were related to the initiates or friends of the family were together at the other end of the quarter, where they chanted and danced until the Kwele Ba came back to town with the announcement that the boys had successfully entered the bush. Some of the women, however, stayed near their houses as the boys were paraded through the town. These rituals are discussed in the following chapter. We'll get into that potentially. Both accounts of Kapoor's death are consistent in telling what can happen if a woman gets too close to the boys. No woman is permitted to interact with the initiates once the Kwele Ba puts a thatch, sash, or japa around their necks. The unusual circumstances of the death were accepted by many townspeople with either interpretation. Coming too close to the initiates in a dream has the same consequences as coming into direct physical proximity. As it was doubtful that Kapoor actually followed her brother into the forest, the second version of death appears valid. To accept that account necessitates a recognition of the dream world of a reality whereby Kapoor's hemorrhage and subsequent death could result from her dream brain having come into contact with the initiates. Because she did not immediately upon awakening confess what occurred, she was caught by the Poro medicine and bled to death. Another possibility is that her confessions were structured in the divination process. According to the second account, Kapoor confessed to having had a dream before the Oracle of Medicine Zoa, Zoa. Although I was not physically present, I did learn about what happened from a member of the extended family, the person who first presented me with the second version. I had previously attended numerous sessions where clients and patients of different Zoa had consulted with their respective oracles. These sessions included several consultations with the spirit possession medicine, the Fa Sele in the Iron Society, and numerous sacrifices before the Mina Sele, or horn medicine, for protection against different spirits and other forces of Kai in Kapele cosmology. Yeah, you need to look into the Kapele's cosmology as they talk about how the world came to be for themselves as well. In each instance where an oracle was consulted and the interpretation was first presented by the oracle worker and the accepted by the client, most interpretations involve the client admitting to having contact with the spirit in the dream world. The following is one instance of personally witnessed and recorded in my field notes. Turko alone, the Zoa of Iron Society, asked me to participate in the Fasele Oracle consultation. As members of society, I had a right to be present, although normally only those who have a special interest in the case of the assistant to the Zoa attend. I had been an apprentice under Tok Olong for several months at the time to learn necessary corpus of leaves that constitutes the society's Ngong Saleh. I had attended several consultations before this occurrence and have attended many since, but this one dramatically exemplifies how the consultation is done. When I arrived, Torkalon had taken off his shirt and was sitting on the floor in front of the Flumo. Flumo had complained that he was suffering from a lack of energy and wasn't able to work well on his farm. Tukpa was sitting next to the Zor. Suddenly he began to enter into a trance state. He became very stiff and began to pound on the side of his head. Then Torkalon took the Fasele medicine and placed it upon his hand. The medicine had a bell attached to the end. Tokpo shook the medicine, ringing the bell next to his right ear. In a high-pitched falsetto voice, he gave the society chant and began to speak as the spirit of the medicine. He said that Flumo had a relationship with the Inya Ninu or the Mamawata. This is a spirit that enters into sexual relationships with men in their dreams and can cause them great harm or trouble if they become angry with their dream lovers. Tokpa said that Fluma and Yaninu had given him a cowrie shell for good luck. He found the shell by the waterside after having received instructions in a dream. Flumo agreed that this was true. Then Tokpa jumped up, went into the next room, climbed the ladder, took down a suitcase, and produced the cowrie shell. Flumo admitted that this was the shell he found after his Mammy Water dream lover told him where to look for it. Sometimes a patient will confess before a second oracle if he determines that the first Zor's medicines are not effective. In another instance that I recorded, a man named Fluma died even after having consulted two different oracles. In the first consultation, he confessed over a Minaseli that he was the Wulanu and had in his dream killed his newborn infant. When he failed to recover from his illnesses, he consulted the second oracle belonging to the Telepinu, or sand cutter type of diviner. In that divination, he was told that the reason for the child dies in the dream is because his wife had a relationship with a different kind of water spirit, a kakali. This spirit is reputed to offer wealth and prestige to those with whom in dreams and contracts to receive the human soul of their relatives. The patient also accepted this interpretation at the time of presentation. After he died, everyone I interviewed about the case claimed that both oracles were correct. The wife did have an arrangement with the Kakali, and Flumo had killed and eaten the infant in his dream. In both the Fasele possessions and the Manusele sacrifices, the clients confessed only after interpretation of cause was given by the oracle operator. Likewise, Kapu confessed over an oracle that provided her with the interpretation that she was ill as the result of having come too close to Poro medicines during the initiation of her brother. Her acceptance of this interpretation was the acceptance of the Zord's medicine. This confession was necessary prerequisite before the Zord could begin his cure. Although her conditions continued to get worse, her family did not consult a second oracle. The medicine Zord's diagnosis was not an at issue because her illness was divined to be the result of Poro medicine. Because the Poro has control over all other medicine matters in secret societies, every Mini is subservient to it. When the medicine Zor decided that the Kapu was not responding to his cure, he called the Poro Zo for assistance. In so doing, he did not change the interpretation of the cause of her illness. Instead, he admitted that the Poro, as the subordinate Mini, had to participate directly in the cure. Kapoor's willingness to accept the Porozo's help was a continuation of her acceptance of the oracle's interpretation. Likewise, the Porozo's willingness to intervene without consulting a separate oracle demonstrated that their concurrence within the first oracle. Kapoor's subsequent death was not blamed on their inability to help in such matter, nor on the inappropriateness of the oracle's diagnosis. Rather, the Porozor claimed that before they could begin their respective cures under Poro Mini, Kapoor had died. The three accounts of this case are each intentionally constructed narratives containing meta-communicative meanings that cannot be located by a direct examination of respective texts. It would be inappropriate to accept any version of the exclusion of others. The first account was contradicted by many community members, including myself, having witnessed her brother's entry along with the others in initiation group into the bush. The second account necessitates a willingness to believe either the Kapoor actually followed her brother into the initiation fence in the dream world, or that she had accepted an oracle's interpretation of what could possibly have occurred without her waking brain or spirit having to necessarily be necessarily responsible for her dream brain's acts. It does not account for the community's interest in the confession and why it was such a pervasive topic of public conversation. The official or legalistic account of the death does not contradict other versions. Instead, it lends support to both by glossing over cause and admitting that the death was unusual. To argue that the case, the history is generalizable into a normative rule about what happens when women accidentally come too close to Poro initiation activity requires a selection between the alternate versions. If each account is instead treated as an adumbration that points to the possibilities of the kinds of consequences that can come from such close proximity, then each version is acceptable without excluding the other. The choice of one version over another is not based on case history itself, but on the ethnographic particulars within the interactional context wherein the account is presented. The discovery of inconsistencies in narrative descriptions is a procedure for discovering that a speaker is using deep talk. That assessment is distinct from situations in which a speaker is thought to have lied. Lying is a serious abuse and normal is taken to court as a tort of adjudication. The distinction between statements in adumbrate and those that deceive involves different evaluative procedures. A lie, according to the Bach, is intentionally deceptive message which is stated. Lying then is considered a subcategory of deception. Because truth or truthfulness is always relative, the principle of veracity cannot be used to distinguish lies from other statements that are constructively tailored to fit the exigencies of the situation. To lie is an intentionally distinct act. Likewise, any accusation that someone has lied denotes that the challenger has different and competing account of some reality that accused also shares. It is an incumbent of the challenger to demonstrate that the accused has intentionally presented a lie. I'm gonna run it back. It is the incumbent on the challenger to demonstrate. For those of you who make claims, you're challenging something, it is on you to present the lie or the information that refutes said such. As a result, it's actually on the claimant, right? That's all it's saying. It's on the claimant. You're claiming this, so you have to prove it. So as a result, in Capelli's community, such accusations normally end up in court. In most cases, the challenger is the defendant in the case. The accused sues the challenger for the abuse and slander. because most court action concerned cases where the accusations that someone had lied was made in public. There are always a sufficient number of witnesses willing to testify on behalf of the plaintiff. The act of abuse, rather than is the accusation that was first made, is the tort that is adjudicated. Motivation of the defendant for having made accusations and his evidence are tangible to the case and dependent on the rules of evidence established by the matter under dispute, and their organizational meaning may not be fully presented in the palaver nor change the outcome in favor of the defendant. So there's 3 stories of Kapua's death. One was she got too close to the fence. She tried to follow them in, got sick and died. The other one, the blame was put on the Zoa, or the medicine man who came to administer help in her situation when she had began to hemorrhage. And they blamed that the medicine caused the death. Third one was that she just had the hemorrhages. She had fell ill that day, and she was unable to recover and ultimately had passed. 3 accounts of Kapua's death. And then they extended the versions of the death, tying them to thoughts, dreams, etc., and then back to reality. The reason that the story of Kapua's death is significant is because it's been told as a lesson. I don't know if you caught the lesson or if you peep it at all, but toward the end, it started talking about lies and stuff like that. It's a lie to say that she did something that she did not do because people bear witness to it. They saw her, so she couldn't have did such and such. The second or moral part of that is to understand that, hey, we understand that people have dreams, but we can't prove a person's dreams unless they come out about their dreams and they inform people of what they actually thought about. But in this case, since nothing was brought out or said, right, she just all of a sudden come into her illness and die. Yeah, he said the moral of the story is the moral of the story is the last part. You ain't gotta add no fluff to it. She died. She fell ill. She fell ill. Now, although story number 1 sounded good, and story number 2 was spiritual, story number 3 just kept it a buck. She had the hemorrhages, she fell ill and was unable to recover from them, and ultimately she lost her life. Although she had received prior help to help her fight in her battle, she still ended up losing the battle. She doesn't win in any instance. He said it's kind of difficult. So they have to claim it was intentional. So it is what it is with Kapoor's death. Now, to understand it more, you would have to get into this next part as it goes. When listening to Deep Talk, hearers must attend to its analogical description that refers to the meanings others than those contained in the narrative itself. I recorded a narrative that demonstrates how such talk is interpreted. I summarized it here in order to introduce the kind of interpretive methodology that is used to pick out the intended meaning of such narratives. The incident concerned with Torkalong, the blind Zoa of the Iron Society. That's another story for a different day, but he talks about this to only say what he means by hermeneutics of the Deep Talk. But this kind of sheds some light on how they tell stories among the Poro. Right? And how these deeper meanings and contexts are something that you're not going to be familiar with. So if you just joined us, you kind of missed the story of the 3 deaths. But scientifically speaking, right, or not scientifically speaking, but if just speaking from a certain sense, we got to be careful on what we assume. They blame the medicine for her death, but they had no evidence of the medicine killing her. They haven't had any issues with medicine prior to this. That's something that people still do today. For instance, the vaccine, we have people talking about the vaccine is causing heart attacks. The vaccine caused Damar Hamlin's to pass out. Um, what else? What's his name? JJ Watt's heart issue. They said the vaccine caused that. Uche, they said it caused that. There's an onslaught of misinformation that is being perpetuated. But what we can learn from the story is you need to chill out and not blame the medicine and make up a story to protect protect someone's fantasy and avoid what actually really happened. Right? So in order for us to really seek out what happened to Kapoor, we know what Kapoor died from hemorrhaging. She went near the fence, but she didn't go into the bush. She was already living there. She was already close to quote unquote the Zoa's medicine. Right? Even though she was visiting, her people was already near the area. But she suddenly fell ill. And because of her sudden fall of illness, it was just a situation where it just so happened. And they couldn't save her. EIE said those stories are teaching hard morals for a reason. How does one falsify intent, prove a lie intentional? Well, people lie intentionally all the time, right? Think about that. We know this. We know this for a fact, don't we? Chavis, the dude Shakur, what's his name? Shaka Shakur, the one that blocked me on Facebook. We know this for a fact. What is he perpetuating in his stories every day? He's attacking a vaccine. And the way that he's attacking a vaccine is showing his level of ignorance because he doesn't know what he's talking about. He's insinuating that the vaccine is the cause of all of these sudden acute issues with the heart. Doesn't know. He's confusing one thing with another, and the timing is horrible. And he's disregarding all the evidence that says otherwise. So people always have a intent. That boy said the champ is here. Oh, who is here? Who the champ? I know you ain't talking about the pseudo in the chat. But yeah, her death was a subsequent death. It was it was bad. But nah, man, that's a little bit about the Poro and the language of secrecy among them in ritual. And we can equate that to our everyday life. Just a story like that can open our eyes to bringing out, dealing with the facts and not adding much more to it, how people been doing it lately. You know what I'm saying? We ain't gotta sugarcoat anything or create some stuff just to be creating it. And and then making up stuff because it sounds good and you're trying to drive a following and get followers and dumb them down, because that's what's happening right now. If I had the shots and I ain't got the shots, all the if I had the shots, I would share it with y'all, but I don't want to muddy the water up. So, I know some of y'all came in late. It's going down in the chat already. The undisputed champ of pseudo-wisdom has graced us with their presence. It's kind of difficult. They have to claim it was intentional. What's going on, Lulu? What's up? What up, Mo? This is a very interesting book, though. Yeah, it's a very interesting book, and you got the book. All right, so let me see what we got here. Let me get EIE's comment off the thing, man, before he get his head cracked. Chavis says, how do you prove he intentionally lied, though? What you mean? How do you prove that he's intentionally lying? He made the story up. Intentionally or unintentionally, the first person made the story up. He had no, okay. So you saying belief influences something, right? So if belief, you have to stick to the evidence, bro. I don't give a damn what your belief is. What does the evidence say? So if belief influences, if what you're trying to argue here is what it is, if belief influences behavior, right? Then you're going to allow everyone to justify their lie based on their belief. She was a young mother of approximately 20 years. She lived in a petrial local compound adjacent to the path where the new initiates were led from the village into the initiation fence. This is why I read this first and I stopped. This is what we know of the story. So we knew she lived near the initiation fence. If the initiation fence is also near the Zoa's medicine, she's immune to that. She knows exactly what a medicine is, and she knows where they go into the bush because it's over by where she lived. So she's already in the area. So it couldn't have been the medicine. It couldn't have been because she saw the initiates going into the bush. She lived by the bush. That's the first paragraph gives us everything that we need to know about what's going on. So the first version of the story, the first version of her death comes from the first person. I first learned of her death when I was visiting with the town chief. A young man from Kapu's quarter came to inform the chief about what happened. He announced that she had died from hemorrhaging. Everyone commented on how terrible it was that such a young mother had died. Later in the afternoon, a close friend of mine from the deceased woman's quarter gave me an account of how she had died. He said that she was caught by Zoa's medicine because she had too closely followed her brother as he left town and went behind the Poro initiation fence. She lives near the fence, which is also near the medicine. Again, the kid tells a story. You keep trying to go the other direction. That's intent, bro. No matter how you look at it. One person, he says, I first learned of the story. He first learned of the death by a town chief. The young man came and told the story that she had died from hemorrhaging. This dude didn't elaborate. He just said she died from hemorrhaging. Later on, a close friend of his came back and said and gave an account of how she died. He said it was the Zoa's medicine. She lived near the medicine. She lived near the fence. She ain't got no choice but to see the initiates. Anytime people get initiated, she ain't got no choice but to see the initiates. How does the belief influence behavior and all of that right then and there? She already lives near the fence. She been living there her whole life. Wouldn't something have happened before now? No, you talking about his intent. You stuck. I ain't stuck. Because there's no way to sit here and say that someone lived near a place near medicine and the initiation fence and nothing happened prior to that. She died from hemorrhaging. The first story, the first account of how she died was told to everyone. To the town chief, it was told that she died from hemorrhaging. Then you start getting different interpretations of the story. Then you had people blaming the Zoa's medicine. They blamed the Zoa's medicine and put some type of spiritual connotation behind it and blamed it on the fact that she was too close to the fence or she was too close to the medicine. But she's been too close to the fence, too close to the medicine. She been near all that. Then somebody else, the last person just said, man, she died from hemorrhaging. So really you had two people that initially say she died from hemorrhaging. It was 4 stories, really 3. But one just made an announcement that the girl died from hemorrhaging. And then the stories occur after the initial statement that she died from hemorrhaging. The first story goes one way. The second story goes another way. The third story, the person just says, man, look, the lady died from hemorrhaging. There's nothing more to add on to that. It's a terrible death at such a young age. She was only sick for a day. She fell ill and died in one day. That's Chavis, bro. And don't put me in the same boat with him, EIE. I'm not succumbing to that. Okay, so she lived near the fence. Let me go back. Ladies and gentlemen. Those of you who want to socialize yourself into justification phase, here we go. Kapu was a young mother of approximately 20 years of age. She lived in the patriarchal compound adjacent to the path where the new initiates were led from the village into the initiation fence. So she gonna see them come right by her house. Oh, Denise said Chave is stuck on Shaka Shakur. Yeah, he might be stuck on Shaka Shakur. Okay. My bad, y'all. Look, I'm over here going back and forth with Chavis about Kapua's death, and he talking about the dude about the vaccine stuff. Man. Yeah, we all know. Okay, so Shaka. Okay, thank you, Denise. So you seen that he was stuck. So yeah, as far as the dude Shaka Shakur goes, it is his belief. It's his belief. Now we can't. His intent is to push his belief on people because he believed that the vaccine caused people death, even if they didn't take the vaccine and they had heart problems. He's saying it's the vaccine. He has no other information of such. It's just his belief. And he has no, I'm going to say it again, he has no evidence to support his belief. That's it. He won't talk to nobody. He's spending time hiding behind his page. He blocked me. All his posts are public. He blocked me and he didn't want to engage in a conversation with me. Now, to be absolutely honest, I ain't disrespect the brother. I told him that he was wrong, though. I did tell him he was wrong. And that's a them problem. That's a them problem. But nah, I thought we was talking about, man, come on, man, Kapoor, man. Don't make me bust your head over Kapoor, bro. It's what happened when you late. You gotta deal with people like Chave. Who can't help it? I'm not in asking you, sir. Oh, y'all arguing again. Chave stuck on to score kind too late. Y'all's giving a parallel agreement. Having a parallel agreement. Often describes as motives, the instrumental forces that drive and direct the behavior based on a series of tacit beliefs that we have about ourselves. Man, I ain't getting into all that, bro. He's slow. That's why I call spade spade. But look, man, I ain't gonna make this too long. I would love to have a conversation with the brother. I mean, I think that he can learn something from the story of Kapoor's death, and he can see how these different versions come about. But ultimately, at the end of the day, her hemorrhages, uh, you know, was sudden. She fell ill all of a sudden, and she succumbed to her death. And it was, you know what I'm saying? It is what it is with that. And you deal with it how you want to do it. You can't help but to try to correct everybody. Yeah, I'm gonna correct everybody regardless. What you mean? Sure, if you wrong, you wrong. You wrong. You came in here trying to, you know what I mean? That's why EIE on your head right now. Talking about you can't help. He will not come to you when you know it. That's his fault. He don't want correction. And you are willing to allow him to sit on social media and lie to people. We talking about people's health. I ain't gonna play with nobody's health, bro. I'm sorry. Sabi ain't cured nobody, and the vaccine ain't causing heart attacks. The leading cause of death in the United States has always been the heart, and this dude acting like the vaccine has been around for so long and causing all of this stuff. He don't know what he's talking about. I wasn't wrong today, Sean. What are you talking about? I don't even know what you're talking about. I don't know. I swear I don't know what you did today. What you do today to make you not wrong? Oh, you said you sent him the stuff I okay. All right. Well, congratulations. You did something right. You sent him the information that refuted his position. Now he's going to change his position again, as he did with the other information that he blamed. I never met someone who would post a video about something that's telling you that it wasn't the vaccine and what it is that was the actual problem that's being under investigation, and try to use it as supportive evidence to say that it was the vaccine. This mug said, I didn't do no pseudo stuff. Man, we don't know. I just don't like people lying on it. And then what I don't like is the brother tried to use his Africa and RBG colors and all of that and slick little wordplay to try to conjure up people's and play on people's intentions and emotions, because he has a following. He's a cult leader. But yeah, man, I would love to have a conversation, but like I said, he can learn from Kapua's death, the 3 versions of the death. So listen, peep this. I used the West African story from the Poro to correlate it to a reality, a real situation that we're dealing with over the past 48 hours or so, regarding somebody on Facebook spreading misinformation. You see how that correlates with one another? How you can go back and pull something and make it relevant today. But I don't think some of y'all caught that. They try to act like everybody's lying to you, but making a false cause fallacy. I don't know what you're talking about. Well, I think I mean I do, but you talking about the pseudo dude is trying to make it seem like everybody lying to us. I got you. Yeah, I mean, a lot of them are just unstudied. And to be honest, to hide behind the red, black, and green, and to hide behind trying to act African and act like you about Africa and supporting Africa, you can't be like that and kick that misinformation, because that ain't in. If you look all over in every country in Africa, they got morals and principles. Been having them for thousands of years. They don't get down with trying to deceive people or misrepresent something. You know what I mean? Our ancestors have never been afraid of correction and adjusting accordingly and making sure that we have the right tools to move forward. We're the only ones acting stagnant in the information age because we don't want something to change the way people believe. And that's just absolutely ignorant of ourselves and others to even insinuate such. It's a whole conspiracy theory fallacy. Facts. And they act like it's a conspiracy with the vaccine. Yeah, that's the problem. It's a reverse. It is a reverse. I need to get me some food. I ain't ate, man. So I might come back later and open up Science with Sean. And Denise, you probably can come on the channel and elaborate a little bit more about what you did today, if you don't mind sharing that information with people, and we can talk about it, and you can share your screen and show us what you got yourself into today, since you feel so good about today. You feel really well about today. You know what I'm saying? You felt like you did a really good job of sticking to the information and arguing from a scientific side. And you know what I'm saying? And you want us to know that. So, yeah, we want to hear what you had. We want to hear about your day today. On the Science with Sean channel. We're going to make that happen. Absolutely. Mondo. We'll do that all day long, man. But yeah, I appreciate everybody tapping in, man. Stay on the go. Look for more to come. And we out.